Welcome back to the PO3 Podcast. My name is Marcus Marks. Today's a little bit different. I haven't put the vlog out yet discussing where I'm going with this channel. And as you guys know, my partner, Victor Jr., well, my ex-podcast partner, had to move away, He was dealing with stuff. And you know what? I think personally he made the right move. And even though the podcast between us came to a halt, I feel like it was for the better, and if he's doing better because of it, then I'm all for that. But I really didn't like doing them by myself at all. There's just only so many times I could sit here and tell you guys that I'm depressed over and over and over before it becomes repetitive and you guys get desensitized to it. That's why I like having a partner to talk to, because there's dialogue there. Sometimes that person might spark interest or spark certain thoughts in me that wouldn't be provoked if I was just talking by myself. Sometimes I need that devil's advocate, and that third person point of view, which you don't get when you're by yourself. It was hard for me, man. It really was. It was hard to do it by myself, and I was really unmotivated to do it by myself because I knew that a huge dynamic was missing, and I never really thought that I'd be able to fill that void again. And honestly, it was because I just didn't put forth the effort to post about it. I finally grew the balls to reveal my podcast on my regular music channel where everyone knows me, like my acquaintances and stuff. I hadn't done that prior. I kind of wanted it just to be my own thing, and I was a little embarrassed, to be honest, to post my mental health issues to the world because this is a public platform. And honestly, I was scared to do it. That's why I just left that channel alone, or that Instagram page. But I wanted a partner so bad, and I really wanted to keep doing this. This is a passion of mine. And I said, fuck it. So I posted something saying, hey, look, I need another partner to fill in for my podcast, the PO3 Podcast. And I got a couple people hitting me up, but it didn't seem right. And then out of the blue, I get a message. I'm like, what is this motherfucker doing, messaging me? Who is this guy? Last person on earth I thought that would want to do a podcast, not because he doesn't go through his shit or because somebody just came in and fucked it up. I'll have to cut that out. Damn, dude. Fucking timing. Anyway, sorry for... I lost my train of thought a little bit.
Hit you up out of the blue.
Oh yeah. So not because I didn't think that he was qualified. It was nothing like that. It's just I maybe felt like he felt the way I felt about posting it to Instagram. I didn't think that he had any interest in it. But if there was one person in the world who can hold a conversation about pretty much anything, it's this dude right here. And this guy I've known for a very long time. And we started, I don't even remember how I met. I know from baseball when I was very young. Shut up.
Oh, my bad.
I'm bringing you in, brother. From baseball. And I remember him telling me, he didn't even like me when we first started playing baseball in the beginning. But the more we grew to hang out with each other and stuff, we just started vibing, we clicked. And we would often find ourselves having conversations in depth about just the most random shit. And he's been a really, really good friend to me. And I hope that I could say the same for myself, that, I've been a good friend to him. And so without further ado, I found myself another podcast partner by some divine miracle. The Lord or whoever, the creator, I don't know, the Alpha, the Omega, threw me a bone. And you know what? I couldn't be happier. So I now introduce to you my new podcast partner, and I couldn't be happier, Jonathan Tova.
What's going on, man?
What's going on, brother?
Well, it's quite the introduction.
Hey, I winged it, bro. I didn't even... I didn't write nothing.
I thought
Speak from the heart.
To touch on something you said about not liking you in the beginning. I don't recall that. I'm not
Oh,
saying
you told me that.
I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm not saying it was true. I just don't recall.
But it's all good, though. I feel like it's dope. that like, you know, like that shit happens all the time. You're like, I didn't like that kid before. But then it's like you get to know somebody and the
Mhm.
dynamics of that relationship and your perception of that person completely changes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. I'm glad that you hit me up and wanted to do this with me because, like I said, if anybody is capable of holding a conversation down for X amount of time, which I usually do these for an hour, but if they happen to go past that, then
Mhm.
whatever, you know, it's really all about the vibe. But no, I don't know anybody better than you to do that with.
Well, this is my first time doing something like this, so it's, a bit foreign.
So you've mentioned to me that you wanted to do something like this.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a thought, honestly. It was nothing that was ever, you know, I scratched down on paper and put down, okay, I got a day 1 this, day 2 that. But it was something that just it piqued my interest. I watch a lot of podcasts and it always seems a really good dialogue, as long as the 2 parties, uh, have the ability to,
Hold a conversation,
yeah,
right?
exactly,
So what piqued your interest about like podcasting in general? Like what was it that caught your eye? Was it a certain podcast in particular, or was it just the fact that I feel like maybe you're kind of passionate about just life in general, certain things about conversation, right? I feel like you are.
Yeah, it's kinda weird when it comes to, well, to answer your first question, I'm pretty sure for most of you out there, uh, familiar with Joe Rogan's podcast.
Of course, yeah. That's the reason I'm
Yes,
here.
it's like, the pinnacle of all
Hmm.
this stuff. It's just there was really good conversations, and I like how he has a vast array of, different, people he interviews, whether they're MMA fighters to astrophysicists and, uh, mathematicians, you name it. And so it was really intriguing, to touch on your, thing of talking about life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think that's true for everybody. Um,
But not everybody can like convey that to somebody and speak on it.
well, I think what it comes down to is being able to come out of your shell, and kind of talk from a personal perspective. People always try talking in, like hypothetical situations. They really don't want to get themselves, too involved and divulge too much information. And I don't have a issue doing that. And what's kind of weird is like usually people that I just meet open up to me and tell me some of like their
You just
deepest,
have that. Are
darkest
you just like
secrets, man.
non-threatening?
I guess, I guess the sense like I think most people want to get their story out or get,
Well, here's what I think sets you apart from other people, and this is just my personal opinion, and I've always said this. Your ability to retain information is fucking insane, and all of our friends say that. For whatever reason, you just can. He can speak on numerous topics. I can just go like you know how they say there's like people that know a little bit about a lot. Well, he knows a lot about a lot. You know what I mean? I feel like he does. He just doesn't give he retains the information so well. And when we get to talking, it's just like I'm usually the chatterbox, you know what I mean? I usually fucking go on and keep talking and they usually gotta shut me up. But usually with him and he's the one where I'm just like, all right, man. Like you got me already. Like
shut up, stop talking,
not even that. It's just like I can't keep up with you sometimes.
Well, it's that's been something that's been a part of me since I was a kid. I was always that kid that, dude, you never stop talking, shut up. And I guess it's never changed. Growing up and going through puberty and becoming a teenager and then ultimately becoming an adult. Um, for better for worse, it's never a dull moment. I can chop it up with pretty much anybody as long as.
Oh yeah, never a dull moment. Speaking of that, pretty much like all the shit that I've talked about previously on this podcast that had to do with friends and stuff, this guy could pretty much verify it, and validate some of my stories, you know what I mean? Like, for example, when I would just disappear from parties.
Oh, dude.
That's not a joke, I'm
Plenty
telling
of
you.
times you'd be like, "Hey, where's Mark?" And he walked to the front. Like, great, he's gone. Sure enough, you go out front, car's gone.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
and
like
that
leaving smoke where your tires were. Dude, like you were out.
see, yeah, I wasn't fucking around when I said that. Like, it was a really deep insecurity that I had for whatever reason. I don't know where it stemmed from. It's just always been with me my whole life. And me being terrified to just tell people like goodbye because I didn't think they gave a fuck. I was just like, well, let me use this opportunity where they're going to do cake stands or whatever, doing shots to sneak out, and
Well, I mean, these probably your own internal demons.
yeah, it is.
Because no one feels that way. Like we're always mad when you leave and just like you don't even tell us bye, bro. Like what the hell's going on?
Yeah, see,
And so uh yeah, man, hopefully you're able to work your way through that stuff because
I
you are a well received individual. You do bring a certain type of energy to the environment, man. You're funny, and then like I like it because you and I will just pair off and go into these little
in the corner.
yeah, little discussions or we'll have some laughs but we usually have some really good conversation, so
That's always been like the part of our relationship that I valued the most, and the reason why I loved going out on the times that I did was because I knew you guys were going to be there, you in particular. But I knew at some point in the night that we were going to end up in a conversation about something, and then somebody else would jump in, like Jake or somebody, and then next thing you know, we're just like 2 hours into a conversation or something like that. And that's for me, that's like really what I value in people is like, can we relate to each other, hold a conversation, and vibe out? You know?
yeah, and I think that's why podcasts today are like a hot commodity right now. A lot of people like this, and I think podcasts give people the ability to, I mean, even if they're not on the podcast itself, but hearing people talk about their issues and they realize, like, hey, like I'm going through that same thing. I've had these same thoughts.
Yeah, and for me though, like I can't tell you how awesome this is to be doing it. Not just in general, like I'm stoked just to have a podcast and have all this gear and I love it.
It's really
But
nice.
but I it just like it's like the fucking what is that stupid saying? The cherry on top, bro. The fact that I get to do this with somebody that I've always vibed so well with. You know what I mean? It's
Well,
like
I
I
can,
couldn't think of a more perfect fit, honestly. That's why like when you hit me up, I was like, I fucking hope you like I really hope that he finds some joy out of this so we can continue doing it, you know. I know we have our different schedules and stuff and
mhm.
you work really hard and I don't really work. So but
Well, hard, that's up for discussion. But yeah,
okay,
I
yeah,
see, I
you're
see.
like, bro, I fucking just I don't even want to divulge this, you know.
Yeah, let's not do that for all you out there.
Yeah, I'm not. He works hard, just put it that way.
I work long. I work long. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. I haven't
Um,
worked in a long time. But that's another whole topic to get into and stuff like that. But yeah, dude, it's like honestly, bro, I feel like I've been given an opportunity here to do something great. And with Victor Jr., it was this, I felt the same way. But it kind of hits it does hit different. That's no disrespect to anybody, but I've known you for a very long time.
yeah, it's been better part of a decade, man. Going a decade and a half. It was Babe Ruth with the Yankees, right?
Yeah,
And
man.
so I was what, we were like 14, 15 years old,
Yeah,
13 years old.
we were youngins, man. And just so you guys know, like when I tell you like I've been going through the shit that I've been going through for a long time, can you give them my nickname in high school?
Depressing Mark or DM.
DM, bro. Like I was way on the DMs way before you guys. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean it's true, man. There have been times where like he would just come outside and I'd be parked outside of your guys' house and I'd be crying in the truck and he'd be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" You know what I mean? And I'd just be going through my shit, man.
I mean, yeah, you were going through some stuff in that, in that
Shit
time in
that
life.
I look back on now,
Yeah,
like
but
circumstantially, sometimes it wasn't a big deal. We're youngins. And we blow shit out
exactly.
of proportion. But a lot of that shit was just because I was clinically depressed a lot of the time, you know, and I
Were
didn't
you,
know what was going on.
were you diagnosed at that point, or it was just
Yeah, I
yeah,
was.
you are
I already
okay.
was. I just didn't tell anybody. I didn't want to fuck up people's vibes, even though sometimes it was out of my control, you know what I mean? Because there was a point in time where you guys kind of told me like, yo, it's like we love being around you, but it's like, but you're so fucking depressed all the time. And it's
Mhm.
fucking it's not verbatim, but
Yeah,
the
yeah.
general message was like, dude, like it's killing the vibe, you know what I mean? But that's how it is, bro.
And you know what though? I mean, again, I think that comes with adolescence. You know what I'm saying? Like, just we're
Yeah.
because like
We're
just
legit psychos.
well, I mean, I guess I'm trying to defend my honor and those of us that said those things, but it's like we didn't know about that kind of stuff,
I
and
didn't
I
either.
have other people in my life that have the depression, and I looked into how to help people that are in your life, loved ones, and now knowing what I know, it's like, damn, that was probably one of the worst things what we could have done is say stuff like that. You want to tell people, like, let's say for instance, the things that you were you know, you had like a direct causal effect on me. Like you were being just rude, mean, vindictive,
And
and
this
stuff
is
like
in
that.
general, right?
Yeah, it's in
Anybody.
general. Yeah, then I'm supposed to bring those up to your attention so that way the things that you're saying, even though you're in that depressed state,
And you know what?
it's unacceptable behavior. But I also have to realize that it's not necessarily you that's talking. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
it's
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 it's it's
it's
somebody else
and
at that
so
point. But
so
that's
it
very hard to understand as a young kid.
well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why we weren't the best of people, or
I'm just analyzing it. I just started analyzing myself a couple years ago, and it's still very confusing to me. And I
Mhm.
know what's going on, and I've been diagnosed on numerous occasions. So the fact that you had that, that type of intellect to notice that back then is pretty impressive because a lot of people just kind of in one ear out the other, or he's just that way because he's that way,
Mhm.
and that's often what I thought of myself. But I mean, do you do you deal with stuff like that yourself, or
I mean, I think we all go through a depressed moments. I don't think that I suffer from depression, at least based off the symptoms. I don't think I mirror any of them. There's days when something in particular will bring my mood down, but it's just not like I wake up one day and it's dark and gloomy outside for me. So I would say I'm rather fortunate because there is a lot of people out there that do suffer from depression and that do go undiagnosed. And I really think seeking help is beneficial. For some people, it's embarrassing.
it's a
You know,
very hard step to take just to
um,
to come out and say that, especially if you're around a bunch of dudes,
mhm,
because you don't want to be that guy.
of course, but I mean, I want to say no, women suffer from depression more than men,
I think so, yeah.
but yeah, there is going to be that stigma that's attached to it. Like oh, he's like we're men. Everyone wants to be the alpha male.
That's why I created this podcast, was to flip stigma on his fucking back, to flip it upside down, and that's why I came up with the acronym for stigma, so that I give my all. That's why I was doing these challenges, so I came up with this acronym for stigma. I came up with a few of them. One of them was slowly this illness guided me along. So
Okay.
throughout over time, even though I have this illness and it beats me the fuck up and it beats me down and I want to quit, eventually it calibrated my compass and put me on a path where I know I need to go. It kind of forced me to find my way. And the other one was so that I give my all. So all I have to do is think about all those stigmas on mental illness to drive me so that I give my all. You know what I mean? But stigma is a huge part of it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like an actual like a physical medical condition.
Yeah.
No one wants to have a physical mental condition. And one of the guys that I follow, who also I got from Joe Rogan's podcast, Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, constantly talks about how mental health. He's a clinical psychologist, by the way,
Yeah,
so
it's a great.
he knows what he's talking about. If you haven't already heard of who he is,
Is that his book right there?
yeah, I actually got both his books here. Let me show 'em.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, pull him up. So
Great
explain
books
this
right
book.
here. So I'm only about, as you can see through the bookmark right here.
Are you actually
Little,
reading it, or audiobook?
no, reading it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So it's basically the title book, 2 Rules for Life and Antidote to Chaos. It's basically his little 12. He says he has a lot more, like 50 some rules, but he tried to narrow it down for, keeping people entertained. 12 rules for life
So
to
can I
get you through.
can
Yeah,
I
go
read
ahead.
those rules?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
He was showing me beforehand, but I wanted to read these on the podcast.
The last couple don't make any sense, and you have to read the book to get the content.
So
or
I'll
the
give you my
context behind it.
real in time feedback. So rule number 1: stand up straight with your shoulders back.
So he talks about, because I'm through the book, and he talks about for this one basically to like have a stand up straight. It's like a position for ready engagement. But it's not like in a physical confrontation way, but to ready to take on,
Just in general, stand up
yeah,
straight.
take on life, take on your day, take on your challenges.
So it's more of a mentality, but also
Exactly,
reflects
yeah,
your
mhm.
physical. Rule number 2: treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping.
And I think that's a big one.
It is a big one.
Because I believe in the book he mentions, people will often like their dog gets sick and they take their dog as soon as the dog has, and I'm guilty of it myself. My dog, wasn't eating like one day, and I was like, okay, he's got to go to the vet. Something's wrong with him. But yet as people, we see things, we encounter things throughout our day or life. It's not that big of a deal, and we neglect it. And then it's just true for mental health, a big one. People have these issues and don't. So it's just kind of like, hey, like your pet or like you're like a loved one, your girlfriend's sick. You're going to want to take her to the doctor, and people don't do that for themselves, So I think I think that's one of my favorite rules, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, you got to treat yourself like you give a shit. Otherwise, you're going to let yourself go and then you end up in a position where you regret not doing anything about it. And oftentimes I've told this to people on numerous occasions, like, and I hated being this person, but I would always tell people, like, one day you're gonna be on your deathbed. And I was like young saying this shit.
Mhm.
One day you're gonna be on your deathbed and you're gonna wish that you one took care of yourself more, told the people around you that how you really feel, you know what I mean? And did what you really wanted to do. You know what I mean? And I feel like that kind of lines up with that because it's like if you don't give a shit about yourself, how are you gonna give a shit about anything else? You know what I mean? Because people do neglect themselves first. They usually are first to help others before themselves.
Exactly. And then only your battles.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, I can sit here and I'm only going to get the information that you're willing to give to me, So I can only help you as far as what the information is that you give to me. So, yourself, what help you need to go get and treat yourself like you're responsible for doing that.
I've always told myself that exact thing that you just said when I'm at the doctor's office. They're only gonna diagnose me based off what I tell them. So if I
Mhm.
tell them a bunch of made up shit and I'm not being honest with myself, they're gonna diagnose me as something that's completely wrong, and then my treatment plan's off.
Mhm.
So you have to be 100% raw with yourself. So if you're not being honest with yourself and you're slipping up, then it's gonna affect you negatively. You know what I mean? In a lot of ways that you probably wouldn't notice until you actually start being honest with yourself. You know what I mean? Truth, it really is like the easiest way. So rule number 3: make friends with people who want the best for you. Huge.
I mean, monumental,
Your
man. I
surroundings.
mean, you mentioned, I don't know if it was at the beginning of the podcast or when we were talking before, you mentioned, I lost my train of thought.
Like, oh, you want to read the rule again?
No, the rule, but it's surround yourself with like-minded people. You know what I'm saying? Like, if birds of a feather flock together,
Yeah.
and so if people around you aren't doing stuff, then you're probably not doing stuff either. If they're doing out there hoodlum stuff or just being in general bad people, you're likely going to be the same person that they are.
And I think attitude does reflect leadership, and the same goes for surrounding yourself with the right crowd, because if you're hanging around with a bunch of losers, you're
Yeah,
going to be inclined to do the activity that these individuals are doing just because it's monkey see, monkey do a lot of the times,
Yeah, and
especially when you're growing up.
we're well community oriented beings. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
we
saying?
want to be
So
part of something.
exactly. So
We're
I,
culty by nature, like I feel like, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
in a lot of ways, yeah. But I feel like that's a really good rule, man. Just got to be around like minded people, and you want people that want the best. They genuinely want the best for you, and not like to the sense where like you'll be like, oh man, like today I was successful in doing X, and they'll be like, oh well, and they'll one up you.
Yeah.
Like they're giving you that pat on the back, but they're also letting you know that they did something a little bit better.
A little secret competition going on,
Yeah, which
which
I
could
think
work in your benefit sometimes.
sometimes, but
in
I
the right
think
circumstances.
what he's going for though is just kind of be like, you know what, I'm super happy that you accomplished X, or what I'm saying, and genuinely give you a pat on the back without also throwing out their progress. You know what I'm saying? So
Have you ever dealt with that yourself, like throughout your life, noticing that you needed to change your environment? Like the individuals that you were hanging around were probably not good for you.
um in some ways yes, in some ways no. Um like, so some of our close friends, and I mean this with no shade, and they understood it. It was just they were out partying and stuff, and I got myself into law enforcement in 24. And so being around, like that type of, environment and activities necessarily wasn't the best for me because if I would have got caught up, my job would be, uh, up for grabs, so to speak. But in our group of friends, they were real respectful and they understood
They
and
were functioning. I'll put it that way,
yeah,
which blew my mind.
well, I mean, it was they're having a good time, was partying. It wasn't like
And that's great because they got out of the system.
yeah, I mean, they're all doing rather
Yeah,
well.
they're all doing good now.
So I mean, really good actually. When you sit back and think about where everyone is now, and
Yeah, I'm happy for everybody.
yeah, I'm truly happy for all their success that they found and starting families and the whole thing.
But I feel like at one point in time though, you kind of did veer off into like the deep end a little bit, you know, maybe a little bit.
Me personally, with
Yeah,
like,
just certain people. You know what I mean? I don't even know who these individuals are, but like I remember you giving me stories of like you were out in LA or something like that at like a hotel, and then like they were doing like drugs and shit. And this was a long time ago too. This was when we were like in high school and shit, you know what I mean? But I remember you
uh,
just telling me that, and I remember thinking personally, I was like, I feel like that's not who John is, you know
I
what I
could think of a
mean?
couple. I could think of a situation like that.
I just
Yeah.
remember you being a little bit lost and like I recognized it, but there was nothing that I could have done to stop you.
No, granted, I've never done anything like that.
No, he
This is not
hasn't.
for
He
camera's
hasn't.
sake either. I mean, I can truly the only thing I've ever done was smoke some weed. I mean, who hasn't?
Yeah.
Um,
That's where you and I related because I haven't either,
mhm.
you know, and for a very, very serious reason. But I have my reasons, and you and I are probably a couple of, we're very, like, there's not that many of us, you know, that really don't dab into that kind of shit.
Honestly, man, I don't think I have any other reason other than being honestly scared to,
Yeah.
to do that kind of stuff.
That was mine.
And granted, it's illegal, and I didn't want to get caught up for some stuff was like that. And granted, it wasn't like we were running drugs where you'd bring a lot of attention to the.
What scared you about it, though?
Honestly, man, just I guess the psychoactivity that goes along with that kind of stuff. I mean, the first time I smoked weed,
The effects.
I kind of had a little bit of a panic attack, and um, I didn't like it at first. To be perfectly honest with you, it kind of scared me, and I was like, "Damn, if there's just weed, what's all this other stuff gonna do to me?"
Mhm.
And it wasn't something I was willing to walk down the road and do. So I never did it, and never had any pressure from any one of our friends that they respected that, and I think that's true because like really really worth mentioning.
Yeah, they never did.
No, because
I was never peer pressured.
it was like offered like hey, but it was never like
Yeah, it's
you,
like if there's
to be
beers
one
in
of
the
us you have
fridge,
to do that.
you're gonna offer someone a
Yeah,
beer.
exactly.
But I'm not
So-
gonna force you to drink.
and so kudos to them. They never once force fed me anything. That was all right, cool. If you decide to. hit
Yeah,
us
I
up,
think my perspective on that would have been a lot different if I was feeling like I was peer pressured. Cause I was never down with that shit. Like, I was never afraid to be like, nah, dude, I'm good already. I told you. But I never got that from these guys, you know? But the same shit happened for me, you know? I saw where playing with your brain chemistry could get a little slippery, you know, and I paid dearly for it, you know. I wanted to. It was monkey see, monkey do, and I wanted to do it, and there was nothing you were gonna do to stop me. So it's my fault, you know. I was gonna do it regardless. I'm just happy that it happened in the environment that it did, but it
Mhm.
scared me off of it for a very, very long time, and still to this day, I know better, you know. But also, I know my personality. I have a very, very addictive personality, and I form habits very easy, you know.
I think that's a big a big thing for you to notice about yourself, because like I would say it was a few years back that I kind of realized that I do have an addictive personality
Oh,
too.
I know,
So
bro. Remember your vape phase?
I was I went through God, man, I spent so much money on those damn things.
Bro, I would walk into his room and like when vaping first came out, like he bought one vape. I was like, this is dope.
I think you got me into it, honestly. I think you were
so.
the first one that had it and I was like, this is dope.
I
blah,
did.
blah,
I
blah.
had the blue one, and it was
Yeah, you
to
did.
this day I haven't had a flavor that tasted that good, and it was probably because it was the first time I tried it.
The watermelon one?
Okay, so in Pismo, it was Gerber and a bunch of our friends and stuff, and I went with Sean and your cousin. I don't want to mention names, but like I don't know. Um, like this is
You just add a little beep or something like that.
I could bleep it out. I know how to bleep it out. But yeah. So your cousin and we were out in Pismo. It was a good time. Somebody had brought like some vapes, which I had never seen before, and there were these pens, right? I was like, what the fuck is that, dude? Because I was like smoking cigarettes and shit.
Yeah.
And he was like, here, just try it. And I fucking inhaled it, and it was like you lost your virginity or some shit. It was like the most beautiful thing and the best, like most flavorful. I was like, oh, I'm hooked. Like that was it for me. And I started vaping, and I went and got this one vape, and it was like a pen. It was blue, and it had this button at the bottom. And I'm bringing it over to your house,
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
we were having like a little kickback or something. Everybody was hitting it, and then I think that was it, bro.
Yeah, I was sold, man. And then I got hooked on it, man. Then I was trying to get, mods that were like limited edition and these
Which you
different.
never used.
One of which, yes, I never used one
And
of
you
them.
paid like $300 for it, dude.
No. I mean, granted, it was still a lot of money, but it was no 300. I think the most expensive vape that I bought, I still have to this day. It just looks cool, like the machine work on it and stuff. So I won't get rid of it. But I think it was like 104. I got it on sale because they weren't pushing it. Because for that reason, it was expensive. So I bought it. Never used it. I think actually the reason I never used it is C-Mac dropped it out of the box and it bent the battery size like sleeve that it came in.
Yeah.
So I couldn't screw the bottom cap to actually make it work on there. So that's why I never actually used the Heimdall. That's what it was. It was a black Heimdall.
You're gonna laugh, but I gotta say it. Speaking of C-Mac, it's one of our friends. If you guys are ever curious, if you have ever been curious as to why I'm missing my front tooth,
Oh my god! I was at what's his name's baby shower, and
did you guys bring it up?
well, yeah, because C-Mac was there,
Oh, okay.
and like my girl, she knows all the guys from high school and stuff like that, but she doesn't know any of the crazy stories. Or, I mean, I tell her some of them, but I haven't seen the guys in a long time, so it was a good way to see everybody, and then the stories just started pouring out, and then that one got brought up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in case you didn't know, treat all guns, even if they're fake, as if they're loaded and real.
Yeah, I don't have a front tooth because of it now. But honestly, some of it was my fault because
No, I was the one behind the trigger.
But
so
I literally pulled it into my mouth.
Oh, I remember the situation vividly, but again, I
I
was
hope
the
you guys
trigger
don't
man,
chop
so-
that and make it something else. I mean, but yeah, I pulled it into my mouth.
Yeah, it's gonna be a meme for sure.
I wanted it. Nah, I mean, if it is, it is. I don't give a shit. I mean, hey, publicity.
In the mouth.
But yeah, bro, there's so many fucking stories like that we could dive into. And that's why, again, I love having you here because of that. Like it's just way different for me, bro. So I appreciate you being here. I
appreciate being here. Thanks.
That's dope, bro. I really hope that you like this experience.
I mean, I don't know how far into it we are, but
32 minutes.
and it's 32 minutes that felt like seriously 4 minutes.
And then that's how it is, bro. And that's why
it's been great so far.
That's why there's never enough, memory card space, because we could do this forever. Going back to the book.
Yeah, you got to read a little bit there.
Well, all that came of compare yourself or surround yourself with people that, you want to be blah, blah, blah. So, was that number 4?
You left off on 3. We're on 4 now.
Okay, now we're on number 4. Yeah, number 3 was make friends with people who want the best for you. That's how we got into that. So number 4, compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. Explain that one to me.
So,
because I'm a little dyslexic.
So basically what he's going on that one is people have a tendency to compare themselves to others, and to track their progress through whether it be life or occupational development, you name it. And so what he's saying is like, look, if you compare yourself to Bill Gates, you in your mind might always seem like you're going to be a failure, or a rock star, you know what I'm saying? And so, or a famous musician, or, just name it.
Anybody of that stature.
Yeah, like that you're aiming toward. And if you never attain that level, then you're going to feel like, oh, I didn't make it. I'm not who I'm supposed to be. What he's saying is if you compare yourself to who you were yesterday, you can track your progress going forward. And so you want to be a little bit better today than you were yesterday.
It's like looking at a scale, man.
Yeah, and he's like, and what Peterson says in the book is great. It's like, you don't know what troubles these people are going through. Yeah, like, money. They have lots of these famous or, really successful individuals. And it's like, yeah, money's not worrying about money. It's a good problem to have. But you don't know. You don't
One
know
less thing.
Yeah, right.
Forrest Gump.
But yeah, straight up, but
told me we ain't got to worry about money no more. I said, good. One less thing. Stupid motherfucker.
Smart man, dude.
He's a very smart man.
But yeah, so I think that's great, man. That way you can track your progress going forward. You don't sit there and have like a moment of self-loathing because you're not somebody else and you're not living in their shoes. But again, you don't know what problems that they're dealing with.
I feel like in the right context and in the right circumstances, sometimes that will catapult you forward because it'll motivate you, but it's not something healthy to practice. I wouldn't practice comparing yourself to other people to motivate yourself.
Exactly.
Because a lot of people, they fuel themselves off of self-hate. Because I've done it for a long time. But what I've learned is it doesn't fix anything. It really doesn't. Once you start comparing you to you and the old you yesterday, now I can say, I don't want to say I'm better than anybody else, but I can say that I'm better than the guy yesterday, or the guy last week.
And that's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
Is it, 'cause
I was literally just thinking about that yesterday.
yeah, because I mean, think of it, maybe the self-hatred might be motivational, or comparing yourself to others, again, might give you a source of inspiration or motivation. It's like a Band-Aid for a very, very big wound, and so you might stop some blood from coming out, but eventually you're going to bleed out,
Mhm.
And the good thing about this book, the title is 12 Rules for Life and an Antidote to Chaos. And it's talking
Wow.
about how to deal with the chaos that life will inevitably bring to you. Like, look at Bill Gates. He's going to die at some point.
Goggins is kind of on the same page as that too.
Yeah, and I was actually going to say, you were talking about how, motivation comes from within. You mentioned that for working out. I have the book. I've yet to read it.
I have it over here, so if you want the hard copy.
I have actually brought the book over.
Okay,
brought the book
I
over
finally
here.
went and bought the hard copy of it. I'm literally on third time listening to it. I listen to it when I work out and stuff, and when I go to bed and stuff. It's a great fucking book, dude.
Yeah, but I remember one of the things you mentioned from the book was him saying he doesn't even use music when he works out, because he truly believes that the motivation should be coming from within.
Motivation is shit
Is
because it dissipates.
Yeah, so I mean, okay, I can see that. What I'm getting at though is, like, it should be coming from internal. It shouldn't be an external source of inspiration or motivation.
It's like any workout supplement,
Mhm.
or like this fucking Red Bull here. Eventually, this shit will wear off, and that's kind of the same thing as motivation. It's kind of bullshit if you could just pull it from from the bigger picture, and just because you have to do it. It's like more of a willpower than a motivation. At least for me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how I interpret the book. But I think that you should get the audio version because there's a lot of shit in there that he breaks down between chapters and stuff.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that.
Yeah. Because the book doesn't outline that. It's just pictures and stuff, which is missing obviously in the audiobook. But if you tie the two together, then you can just kind of compare it. But I think that's a huge thing, bro. I've always been a proponent of that, like way back when, especially when I first started music.
Mm-hmm.
What would I always ask you, bro? Just like, please be as honest as you possibly can with me. I don't care.
I still remember the first time I heard one of your completed songs back when FL was the demo.
Yeah.
And you had to render it that same day, or leave the computer on for days on end until you finish a project. But I remember coming home from work, and you and Sean were at the computer. And Sean's like, "Hey, dude, we found this new dude on iTunes."
You just got back from work, or
I
something,
literally just got back from work, dude. And I was like, all right, cool. I had Taco Bell with me.
Uh-huh.
So I go to the table and I sit down. I was like, all right, play it. So it plays, and it was bad.
Very bad.
It was
It was
bad.
the first song. I just started learning how to
Very
produce
bad.
music. So it was the first time I ever structured any type of musical anything together to technically call it a song.
Yeah. I mean, to give it some context, it was kind of like you gave a 4-year-old a Casio keyboard, and they just
If
started,
anything, it'd be better.
right? And just started hitting all the keys at once. That's kind of what it was like. And so I remember asking Sean, I was like, dude, did you pay for this song? Like, could you get a refund? It's garbage. And Sean starts, not knowing that it was Mark's production, his hard work, hours on him before I got there. Okay, days. And so Sean's hysterically laughing, and you're sitting there just super quiet.
I'm just like,
And then so I kind of put 2 and 2 together. I was like, oh shit, he's been working on this damn computer for music stuff. And I was like, hey, Mark, is that your song? I'm like, yeah. No, it's good, bro. I need the constructive criticism. I need you to be. And you know what? Since that day, I have tried to emulate that as close as I can, being tactful and tasteful, without trying to squash you, But from that day till now, I mean, it's unrecognizable. I mean, from other than me personally knowing you,
yeah,
it's your music is unrecognizable. You've come extraordinarily long
leaps
way.
and bounds, bro.
Yeah, and it's great stuff. If you haven't heard it, check it out.
I'm gonna post this on my music channel because I don't know if you guys believe me, but I would always preach look, the shit that you hear now was not naturally gifted. I was never ever naturally gifted. If anything, I was the opposite of that. He was like, you put me in the negatives. He's like, how bad do you want this, motherfucker? Like, you're gonna work for it, and I had to work for it, bro.
Yeah, but again, that just kind of goes to show you that hard work and dedication can take you very far. You may not be the most talented or gifted individual in any one field, but if you put enough determination into it, you can succeed. And I would say that you have, because we do have some people in our group that are musically gifted, and
I'm thinking the same thing.
And I don't feel that the same personal drive was there that you had. And I think if the drive was there, everyone would know who this person is.
Yeah, yeah.
They would
I've
be
always said that.
definitely radio time, stuff like that. So if you're listening, hard work, dedication goes a
And
long
I've
way.
had this talk with him on numerous occasions, bro.
Mhm.
I always told him, "Love, please don't throw away what you have because I would kill to have what you have because I'm working 20 times harder just to kind of sound a little bit as good as your shit." You know what I mean? And still, it's missing.
I remember one day he came by and he got on there and dude, this like granted it was electronic music, it wasn't rap or hip hop at that particular point in time, but dude, like the electronic stuff that he was coming out with was like on the fly. I was like, dude,
Remember
this
"Dicks in
is
the Air"?
I would have to hear it.
Bro. Yeah, it was one of those instances. He just
You know?
came over, fucking hit a couple buttons or whatever, and then
Yeah.
it was this banging ass song.
Yeah.
And me and John were like, and then he was all, "Put your dicks in the
Okay.
air." We're like, bro, that's just tight. And then he would always erase it. I was like, nah, don't erase it.
So,
And
no,
we
it's
put
not
it on
good.
our-
It's not good. It's not good.
and then we would put it on our iPods where I literally still have it. Like if I fire it up, I could show you the playlist. Like,
Okay,
Dicks
so
in the
talking
Air.
about iPods and playlists, so back then I was hitting the gym pretty hard, and I had my little workout, metal playlist to get me, motivated in the gym.
Oh no.
And I'd be like vibing hard on the song, going, pushing up some weight, getting ready, and then the song would change, and then I hear beep boop 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 boop.
That's
and I'm
like pretty much how it sounded.
and I'd look and mark backwards.
That was the name of the song.
Mark backwards. That's how you actually came up with cram.
Yeah, yeah. And then somebody started calling me that.
And then it stuck, But yeah, I'd be so mad in the gym because it would just like totally take me out of my mindset.
I apologize for fucking your pump up.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, it's not like I'm anything worth looking at.
I knew
now,
I knew what I was
but-
doing though. I was like, let them hear it again. It might like it.
Because
So
I
I was
had-
just dropping on people's playlists.
Yeah, because I had like a lot of songs in there, so it was hidden. I wouldn't be. It wasn't like a list of like 4 or 5 songs
I
or
would
10
sneak
songs.
it in there.
There was probably like a good 40, 50 songs. So if you were to drop one in there, I'm not gonna notice. And there it was. I wish I still had my iPod if it didn't get stolen out of my car. That would have been great because there was a lot of your stuff on there still. That way it could be like
I probably still have it though.
oh good. That was like, before and after.
Oh yeah, bro.
shit.
Trust me. Like there's
Comparing
time,
yourself who you are today or who you were yesterday. You know what I'm
I
saying?
can't listen to them though. They're very very bad. Some of them were like, that was all right, but it wasn't. I'll go back on what's his name shit and listen to his old stuff, and I'm like, bro, this was still good. Like back then.
Mm.
Like I'm telling you, like by no stretch of the imagination, like I'm not blowing this out of proportion. The dude had a gift, has a gift. He's
Yeah.
very, very talented when it comes to music. And another thing that kind of blew my mind, it was like, what are the odds that I was born with this passion and want to produce like this? Produce music, beats in specific. And then I grow up down the street in the same group of friends as somebody who was doing the exact same thing, but he was on a level unrecognizable to me. It was like I had a mentor the whole time.
Yeah, and he
What
was
are the
real cool about
odds?
it too. And like he would help out as much as he could. It was-
He had so much patience with me, like a lot, bro. And I'll always say this, like no matter what happens, whether we have our hardships, our ups and downs, I owe a lot of what I learned to him. Granted, I put in a lot of
no,
my
you
own
don't take that from
research,
yourself. Yeah,
but he did show me the ropes, and you'll never forget those people, like the people that helped you when it'd be hard for a lot of other people to fucking sit down and have the patience to help you with something as difficult as music. You know what I mean? It's like working out.
So I had my little fair share of me dabbling with making them, beats too. And I'll tell you what, working out's a lot easier than making music, man.
But like to put it into context, like for a reference point, like you get a trainer who's been fit his whole life,
Mm-hmm.
and to try and teach somebody who's completely out of shape and obese how to get to your level, the thought of that, they can't wrap their mind around it.
Yeah, and again, it's probably like looking. You can't really like if you're getting to the gym for the first time and you're trying to be the yoked and just this big dude. You don't see yourself in that light yet. It's
Yeah.
hard for you to see that, even though you're in the gym putting in the work. It's still hard to see you becoming that image that you have in your mind. So the same would be for music. Like here you are starting off, and then you have like someone like him that's been a mentor to you and helping you out, and you're like, I can't see myself, being at that level.
For me, it was the opposite. I always saw myself there. I didn't like the results I was getting, but I always had the vision. I always had the vision, bro. I was like, I'm gonna fucking do this. Like there was nothing that could have stopped me, bro.
Well, I mean,
I know I'm not
I-
a world famous producer, bro,
No,
but I
but
have some
you've-
credits and I know my shit bangs.
well, I'll tell you for sure that So some of the latest stuff that you sent me, it's been a while since you sent me some of your
Yeah.
newest stuff, but the stuff that you did send me was about a year ago now, maybe a little bit
Mhm.
longer. No, almost a year ago. I showed that to people like, dude, you know this guy. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
I grew up with him. Like, I remember him first starting to make music and it was trash. And look at the stuff he's producing. And I actually memorized all your lyrics on one of your songs.
I think it was Shotgun Shawty. I think that
Yeah,
was your favorite one.
that's a banging track. If you haven't heard it, go check it out. It's on iTunes, right? It
And bro, like that was the quickest song I ever made. I'll tell you that.
was on iTunes, right?
Yeah, it's on iTunes
So go
called
check it out.
Shotgun Shawty.
Check it out on
And,
iTunes. It's worth it.
but yeah, it was that for whatever reason, it was the quickest song I ever made. Like I literally remember making the beat that day, but to record it, I had never recorded that fast before. I laid down the hook, I did the first verse, didn't write anything down, and then literally my girl texts me, and she only lives like 5 minutes, so probably like 10 minutes for her to get here. She was just getting out of work. She was about to come home. By the time she texted me that she was out, by the time she got here, I was done with the whole fucking verse, and the song was done, bro. I was like,
Yeah, it's one of my favorite songs, hands down.
and
And Eulogy's a good one too.
um, that's fucking so old, bro.
Yeah, but I like the lyrics though.
Yeah, I could probably remake it, but anyway, like when I would make songs like that, I was doing them with like gaps of like 6 months to like a year sometimes. Like I would cut songs, like I would do like 2, 3 at a time maybe, but then I wouldn't make another song for like 6 to 8 months.
Mhm.
And so like I never really worked to my full potential, and that's where the depression came in. It was just crippling me to the point where I couldn't be creative. And when I would sit down and try and create, it was just lights out. And when I would get my manic phases and ideas would start pouring in, that's when I would start creating shit. And that's kind of how I created everything, really. But I hate going off topic. We're trying to get through these rules here.
It's all right, man. That's
This is what this shit's about, though, man.
good
Like,
conversation. It
yeah.
leads, a lot of different avenues arise out of it. So
and
it's
we're
all right.
almost at an hour, so
I'm good.
I'm gonna try and get through these.
All right, let's go.
Okay, so rule number 6. And sorry if I'm not letting you talk.
No, you're good. I think I'm doing a lot of talking. Honestly.
Hey, you're doing fucking good, bro. You'll forget that shit's even there. Rule number 6: set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. So everything in your environment is how I'm interpreting it.
Yeah. So if you're
Correct that first before you start criticizing the
exactly,
fucking mess outside.
because if you can't get your own stuff together, who are you to go out there and judge, the world in a bigger
It's like
picture,
a drug addict telling you, "Hey, man, you need to fucking stop doing what you're doing," but
I
then he
believe-
takes a hit.
Exactly. I believe in that chapter he talks about making your bed. Clean your room is his thing. Go clean your room. Get it all in order. And so, and then you can go out and be the person the world needs you to be. And that's kind of what his big thing is kind of like take care of yourself, and then maybe if you get good at that, you can take care of your family a little bit better. You get good at good at taking care of your family. You can take care of your community, and it branches out. And that's kind of his thing is like you have the power in some ways to influence a lot of people and influence the world around you.
It's a ripple effect.
And I think that's his point.
Have you ever seen Limitless with Bradley Cooper?
Yes, I have.
Okay,
Great-
you
good
remember?
movie.
You remember? Okay, so what resonated with me, particularly from that movie, was the scene where he just pops the pill, and he walks into his own room, and the drug starts kicking in, and then he looks at his environment, his space, and he was like, "Wow, these words I'll never forget, and this is why I do make my bed, fucking every day, and I'm not even kidding." He's like, "Oh, this is what depression looks like," and it was dishes everywhere, dirty clothes everywhere. His bed wasn't made. It was dark and gloomy. And anytime that I see my environment like that now, it reminds me like, yo, you need to get up and do something about this. It doesn't happen every time, granted, but those words are always ringing in the back of my head. Like, look, this is rule number 6 right here. And this is exactly why. And I think that's what he means.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Did we skip 5?
No, we didn't. Rule number 5 was do not let. Okay, yeah, I skipped 5, so let's go back. Good shit, bro. Rule number 5: do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them.
That's so.
I feel like that's a little bit out of your control, though.
What he's talking about is that as parents, well, okay, so in that particular chapter, he talks about you only really have developmental control of your child until they're like 4. once they're about 4 years old, they start to get influenced by other people and other children and adults that are going to surround them. So he says it's your job to make sure that you keep them in line. He's like, you don't want your kid to go places and people put a smile on just because they're trying to be polite and genuinely do not like your child. And he's like, because then they miss out on opportunities because of it. If your kid is a tyrant, they're not going to want to take the kid under their wing and show them and help them learn and develop. And so he's like, if you put them in line early enough, then people will want to be around your kid. And the smiles that they show your kid will be actually genuine. And your kid will benefit from that in the long run because people want to be around them. They'll be social. And so he's like, but if you have a kid that's terrible, then for one, people don't want to be around him, but then you'll hold resentment toward your child, because he gives an example in one of his podcasts, I believe, where he's talking like, you get the grocery store and your kid starts acting out. And you're like, you're going to get it when you get home.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
And then you hold on to that grudge though because they embarrassed you at the grocery store, and then so you get home and your kid goes and does something coloring, and it's a child, so it's probably not going to be the greatest thing, but they're like, hey, Dad, look what I made for you. And you're going to still hold on to that resentment that you had at the grocery store and get out of my face, go to your room. I'm still mad at you. And he goes, and that has detrimental effect on your child.
Well, I feel like that's more of like, hey, bro, you're an adult. You should know better. But at the same time,
but we're human.
Sometimes those people weren't even taught those types of things, like to think, like, you're the one in charge. You're the one steering the ship here. So it's up to you to recognize that he's a child, he fucked up, and it's your job to discipline him, you know what I mean? And not hold a grudge when you got to understand this kid, he's still developing, he doesn't have any intellect. He's probably not even self-aware yet.
And kids are always pushing the boundary because they're exploring the world around them. They got to know how far they can push something before it breaks or before they can't.
Yeah, they're going to make it bend until it breaks.
And so when they reach that point, which would be like at a grocery store and they embarrass you, like, yes, discipline them, but then try to, let it go. So that way, when the kid does something cool, you're not going to be still hot-headed about it. But that comes with letting your kids do things that you don't like, then they're going to always act that way. And you're going to have that resentment toward them.
So basically just discipline them. And don't be afraid to discipline them, but there's a fine line.
Well, he's not. Oh, and he in the chapter he clearly delineates between discipline and abuse, but he paints a really good picture, and I think it's good because when you think about it, once they're about 4 years old, they go to school, and they have other kids that are around them, other adults, and so your ability to have complete control over their development, mentally, escapes you because now there's many different faucets point into that sink.
And that's where some of these roles prior to that role come into play. So you want to lead by example for your children. And for the most part, like I said, monkey see, monkey do. So if you're fucking up and you're yelling at your kids, they're probably most likely going to display the same behavior when they get older without even knowing it. And I do the same thing myself. Sometimes I'll talk to my fiance like how my dad used to talk to me. And I have to recognize that sometimes in order to fix it. And it's not intentional. It's just something that you don't even realize is happening. And it's just something that was instilled in you because monkey see, monkey do. You know what I mean? Without you even realizing it.
Yeah, very, very impressionable minds when you're young.
We're like a sponge.
So that's why, he's talking about don't let them do things that makes you dislike them. So that way,
I would probably word it a little bit different, but everyone has their own interpretation. There's probably a lot deeper. There's probably a reason why he said it like that.
I mean, granted, I think he's trying to point a very vivid picture, but I hope I'm doing it. I feel like I'm doing his book a disservice by trying to explain his rules because this guy's a very intellectual individual.
Well, luckily for you, we have. If you want it, no, I'm just kidding. He walks in.
But if you guys get the chance, I highly recommend it. You won't be upset that you bought. You spent the $20, or because I got the hardcover, so it was like $20. But if you get the softcover, it's like $9 or something like that. So it's not a very expensive book. So
that was rule number 6.
We went
number 5. Sorry, now we're on rule number 7.
Yes.
So pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. Expedient. What does that word even mean?
Like now.
Okay.
Quick,
So pursue, and that's in parentheses. So pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient.
Yeah, I mean, so it's basically short-term pleasures versus long-term, and,
That's the mindset I'm in right now with dieting, you know?
mhm,
Am I gonna let this short-term pleasure fuck up my
mhm.
long-term results?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, you could what's great about this, you can apply a lot of these things into multiple different avenues of life. In this particular, he's talking about the meaning of life and, trying to orient yourself in that, and so, yeah, that's kind of his thing, man.
And I'm noticing that these are very generalized, but it's a lot of the times the most important advice that you'll ever receive in your life is often simplistic.
Well, see, what's funny is these rules. Well, I mean, they're the chapters. So each
Yeah,
rule
yeah,
has
yeah.
a whole chapter dedicated to each particular rule. So he elaborates immensely
Yeah, so
on
he's
that. So,
taking generalized, ideologies and theories and
mhm.
stuff, but he's breaking them down to the core. On the surface, they're simple when you say it, but when you break it down, they hold a lot of weight. Is what I'm getting
Yeah,
from it.
yeah,
Yeah,
100%. So it's easy to retain these couple rules,
yeah, yeah,
and then
yeah.
of course when you dive into the book, you see like this guy's explaining stuff, and a lot of the times it's stuff that you've actually thought of yourself, just couldn't really formulate the way of saying. You couldn't articulate it
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
and so it's not like he's preaching new ideas. It's stuff that we've all heard.
That's why I said it's like
Yeah,
generalized,
yeah,
but he's putting it in a way that makes sense to everybody. That's what makes the difference between a good teacher and a bad
Oh,
teacher.
100%. Just to go off on a little bit of a tangent, I was living in Arizona. I was probably at the time, I lived there from like age 20 to 22, or more or less 20. Yeah. And so I met this guy. He worked at, I met him through a guy that worked at Best Buy where I worked. He was a teacher, math teacher. And we're at his house one night having a couple beers in his backyard. And we're talking about math. And I was like, dude, like, math was one that really escaped me. Like, it was very hard for me to,
Really?
yeah, dude, like, um,
I thought it would just click for you.
no, man, I struggled with math. It was not something that came natural to me.
We have a friend that's not like that, Andrew.
Oh,
Like he's
yeah.
just a brainiac.
When it comes to math, yeah, he's a smart individual all around, but when it comes to math, that's one of the things I know him best for. And anywhom, so he was talking about a teacher, and dude, I remember in his backyard while drinking, he taught me some stuff, and I mean, the light bulb just went off, and I was like, dude, like, I wish I had teachers like he. He goes, well, anybody could read from a book and just tell you do X, Y, and Z, and that's why X is Z, blah, 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 blah. A good teacher will find a way to reach out to the students whose light bulb isn't turning on.
And that's why teachers don't get paid enough.
And so going forward in life, when going through my police academy, I was helping others that were struggling with the curriculum. Granted, I like what I do, so it was easy for me to retain the information. So I hosted the study groups, and most of the people were telling me like, dude, you should be a teacher. Never been anything I wanted to do, but it was just kind of like, 'cause I took his thing. Okay, if I can just say what they said and to these people again, it's not going to help them retain the information. So what I was doing, I'd go around, hey, did you get that? Did you get that? One person, no. So then I would try to find 19 different ways to explain it to them. The light bulb would click on, and then we'd move on. And so I remember at the end of the academy, they told me, hey, I thank you because I don't think I would have made it if it wasn't for you helping me. And I think that goes, you don't have to be a teacher per se, but if you're trying to help somebody and instruct them, and you see that they're struggling, try to find a way to make it work. And that's, I think that was makes separates teachers from great teachers. And you don't have a whole lot of great teachers because most of them are underpaid and they don't care anymore.
That's what I'm
And
saying, bro. Like, t- even though there are those few teachers that it's just their passion to teach kids and do what you did. Take the time to find those 19 other ways to explain it to them so that one of them clicks and turns that light bulb on. Sometimes it's not every single teacher has the mental fortitude to put forth the effort that it really takes because it's by no stretch of the imagination an easy task to mold children, especially you throw in mental illness or ADHD and stuff like this. It's already gonna fuck up their attention span. Um, we need to incentivize teachers to put, and accommodate them more for their circumstances so that we can get more teachers like that.
I agree. I think teachers are severely underpaid, considering that they are in a lot of ways shaping future generations.
Bro, that's our future.
But to be fair, for them to go individually, there's not enough time in the day.
That's what I'm saying.
You
We need
know?
to incentivize it and find another way. It's like
So
fixing traffic. How are you going to do that? It's one of
so
those problems that
yeah.
we haven't figured out as yet.
So
But I
but
think
yeah,
it's something we need to work on.
yeah, definitely a lot of money needs to go to these
Elon,
people.
get on it.
If he touches it, I'm sure it'll work, bro.
That's what I'm saying. Elon, like we need to clone this guy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you've always had a gift for that. That's why I said this guy's one of the smartest people that I've ever met. And I only know a handful of them. And sometimes, and I'm speaking off of self experience right here, personal experience. Sometimes the things that you're passionate about aren't what you were meant to do.
Sure.
And I kind of started figuring that out for myself because my passion has always been music. And for whatever reason, I just feel like something in the universe and I'm not religious, but I felt like something was just pushing me the other way. And I didn't really see it at the time. I just now started to recognize it, but maybe this is what gift I've been given, and my surroundings and stuff. I was blessed enough to have a surrounding where I'm allowed to do this type of thing with individuals like you. So maybe it was just over my head, but I
Well,
feel like this is something that I never saw coming.
well, yeah, and I think a big factor of that too is your ability to talk and articulate your thoughts.
Yeah.
Because you do it multiple times. You'll say something and then you'll elaborate on it more, to make it easier to digest for your people that are listening to your
So
listeners,
do you.
So, yeah, I think it's, everything's about timing.
Yeah.
You can trace that back to the universe, stars have a certain amount of time to live and die, create the components to create new planets, blah, blah, blah. So
Oh my God.
everything's about, well, I'm saying it's all about timing.
No, but we've had so many conversations with
And
that.
that
I
could be-
remember you understood this concept way before I did. Like the discussion of like how everything is a miracle. I was like, bro, it's just like how could it not happen? You're like, no, the fact that everything lined up this, and that way is a fucking miracle within itself.
Yeah,
Because
I
if it
mean-
was 1 degree off, we'd fucking freeze. If it was 1 degree this way, we'd fucking,
Yeah.
overheat. And
know,
you understand that way before I did.
I would say, so I understand
you had a better concept on
the
it.
concept of it, but I remember I was like, 12 years old, 6, I don't know, somewhere in that age group, maybe plus or minus a couple years. It was a PBS special on
Nova, shout out PBS.
It honestly was
Neil
Nova.
deGrasse Tyson.
It was honestly Nova, and it was actually Brian Greene. He's a quantum mechanics physicist or something like that. I forgot exactly.
Astrophysicist.
No, he does something more with he
Quantum
does
mechanics?
quantum mechanics. Yeah, but I remember this guy talking about the quantum world and the abnormal properties of this kind of stuff. It was so fascinating to me. What I thought was awesome was I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast and I saw, wait, is this the Brian Greene? And sure enough,
Oh, he was on there?
twice. He actually has a new one but I don't have Spotify, so I haven't listened
Bro,
to the
just
new
get
one.
it. It's free. It's so easy. I don't know why people are making such a stink about it. Like, it's free. Like, just download the app and just go type in Joe Rogan.
Honestly, I have the app. I've had the app. I just forget that I have it because
Just
I
type it
have
in.
the YouTube, the one that you pay premium.
YouTube Red.
Premium.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
So
know
I
what
get
you're
like
talking
no commercials, nothing like that. So that's where I get all my music from. So I rarely go to anything else for that.
Uh-huh.
So, anywho, yeah. So he was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and I thought that was so awesome because, dude, I remember watching this guy when I was like I said, plus or minus a couple years at 12, maybe 10, maybe 11, whatever. But it's great, And so I was able to understand the concept of it, which is why I'm so drawn toward astrophysics and quantum mechanics. But again, I told you I wasn't good at math, so the complex mathematics behind it escape me, and I'll never be those people. But it'd be cool just to go sit and learn from these guys,
Yeah. And
especially when they break it down into layman's terms for us to understand.
Yeah, so we can grasp it, a little bit. And I know I have a hard time grasping a lot of things, especially that. But that was kind of the one thing where we clicked as well. Because I remember on numerous occasions we'd be at your cousin's house, where you were staying, your house, and we'd throw on these documentaries, bro. And we'd just be so fucking just sucked in by like some PBS Nova documentaries.
Yeah. Actually, I think I showed you that one. Honestly, the Nova documentary with Brian Greene. But yeah, dude, it's intriguing because of how infinitesimally small we are in the grand scheme of the big picture.
It does blow your mind.
And so,
Blows
and
my
again,
mind.
to me, it comes back toward, you can bring that back to mental health, or just life in general. We have a very finite amount of time.
That's why I'm not religious, man.
Honestly, I've found myself gravitating toward religion.
Hey, whatever makes you a
Well,
better
well,
person.
maybe not religion per se, but toward
Spirituality.
yes, and I actually got that from Jordan
That's why I
Peterson's.
got this Buddha tattooed right here was because of spirituality in general. It was like I said, I don't know what it is, but I feel like sometimes the universe does do things that we can't explain. And I don't know if it's God or this or that, but sometimes I feel like there's a higher power. But that's a discussion within itself and like for a whole nother podcast.
No, but again, just because this guy, okay, so we may not be able to make it through all the rules, and
Yeah, I
I've
don't
only,
think so because we're at an hour and 5 minutes now. I think we can go another 10 minutes.
so I've only read like half the book, but this guy's been super influential to me.
And we could do a part two to this and we can continue and elaborate on it more.
Uh, yeah,
Being it's your first podcast, I know you've probably got a lot to say. And I know
yeah.
I do because I haven't done this with somebody else
Mhm.
other than the fucking you right there, the camera, in a long time, you
Also,
know. That's why I started vlogging, dude. It got that bad. But I enjoy vlogging. Um,
uh, yeah, I see them. They're pretty good. Your editing is really good too.
yeah, and I'm only using iMovie, guys, so I'm very limited.
Well, it looks pretty good. I thought you used like Adobe Premiere or something like that.
Appreciate it, bro.
But yeah, again, this guy's very influential. I've had people close to me note that I've had a really significant change in my personality. The way that I articulate my thoughts, the way I just kind of navigate through life has been, and it's noted by people close to me that they've seen the change within me that I wasn't even aware that was taking place.
I feel like the lion was tamed a little bit.
Actually, I would say the line was let out of his cage. Like I'm open to more now.
Okay.
Um,
Well,
was actually,
I mean the destructive part maybe.
yeah, I guess in a lot of ways you can see that. Trying to be a better person.
Okay, just in general.
Just in general, like not for anybody in particular, just a better person, for me.
Bro, I had a post like that on Facebook years ago that because it had to do with kind of that. It was like just I'm not gonna like quote the whole thing, but like the idea was like just be good to be good, not because you think you're gonna be receiving some type of
Yeah.
gift at the end of whatever it is. Just do it because it's the right thing to do. Regardless of your ideology, like whether you're religious or not. Just be a good person.
I think there's one rule in here that you mentioned. I think we talked about it earlier. No, I think you mentioned actually one of your vlogs.
Uh-huh.
But let me see, where is it at? Rule number 8, and I think you like this one. Tell the truth, or at least don't lie.
I was gonna say, can I at least say this one?
Yeah.
Can I at least say this one?
That one's I haven't got into that chapter yet, but I've heard him elaborate it on numerous podcasts, and that's a big one.
I think in order to accomplish that, rule number 8, tell the truth.
Or at least
You
don't
have
lie.
yeah. You have to be real with yourself first, because it will get distorted and then lost through translation if you're lying to yourself.
And the beautiful part of it is when he goes on his interviews, they'll ask like, "Hey, which one of the rules is the most difficult for you to adhere to?" And that's the one.
And I guarantee it's rule number 8
yeah,
for a
that's
lot
what
of
he says.
people.
He says it's rule number 8, and so people like, I've read that rule to several different people, and they're like, "Well, what do you mean? Tell the truth or at least don't lie."
Don't overthink it, bro. Just be real.
And, no, but it's just like it kind of sounds like the same thing.
Well, that's what I would tell people is like, don't overthink it. It's right there.
Mhm.
The writing's on the wall. Just
And
tell the truth.
he's like, well, because he's like, okay, so let's say I tell you something that turns out not to be true, but at the moment that I told you, I believed that it was true.
It was your truth.
Then it might be perceived as a lie. But he's saying, don't go out of your way to be deceitful.
Exactly.
And so, if you have the ability to be truthful, then be truthful.
That's huge.
Mhm.
That's huge because a lot of people will go out of their way to be deceitful and blow smoke up your ass. And I feel like you and me as well, but I feel like I have a really good radar for bullshit. Like I can just smell it, and I think it is like a pheromone that people just give off when somebody's lying.
Maybe, yeah.
I feel like it's just I don't know, bro. I that's why I've always had a hard time trusting a lot of people, just because I just feel like there's something about this person or this individual where it just kind of rubs me the wrong way, and that's when I start to get social anxiety, around certain people. And I think that's a lot of the reason, other than maybe a mental illness, what social anxiety might be, and this is just a theory, is you're feeding off so many, especially in largely crowded areas, you're feeding off so many people's vibes and shit. And if it is a pheromone, if you're sensitive or susceptible to that type of shit, then maybe it just impacts you a lot harder than it would a normal person,
Yeah. 100%.
Um, we're gonna wrap it up. I really don't want to.
Low key, I don't either.
Well, here's the thing: we could shoot 2.
Okay.
You know,
We'll do
so
that
but
then.
we can wrap it up on this one just because I'm running out of space on my memory card.
Okay.
But actually, no, I don't know. I haven't pushed it to its limit yet, but I don't want to find out. You know.
Yeah, and then like the last 20 minutes weren't recorded.
Exactly. Well,
For
so for now though, we're gonna conclude this episode, and I don't have a weekly challenge just because it's been a long time. I'll get into that probably on the next one. And if you don't know, I do a weekly challenge segment at the end of the podcast, and I usually do it around 50 minutes. But for this week, I just kind of wanted to focus on John. I never called you that. John's fucking idiot. I'm trying to be professional and shit.
Yeah, the only person that calls me Jonathan is my girlfriend. So.
Yeah, I don't. I'm sorry. No
That's
one calls
okay.
me Marcus. They call
Actually,
me
you
Mark.
know what? She calls me Tovar more than she calls me Jonathan.
That's weird.
I mean, that's what I get at work every day. But
Yeah.
it's hey Tovar. I'm like,
The homies call you that sometimes. Some of like the outside homies.
yeah, but when she does, it's weird. And then when she calls me Jonathan, I'm like, am I in trouble? It kind of feels like when you say my first name, it's like you middle naming me. Like,
If my fiance ever called me by my first name, I think I would throw up. But anyway, I just kind of wanted to focus on John's introduction and let you guys get to know him a little bit. Granted, I'm sorry if I talked a lot.
no, you did fine, bro.
But this concludes the first podcast with my new podcast partner. If there's anything you want to add, man, go ahead and let it out. If not, I hope you guys enjoy this episode and tune in next Monday for, the to be continued. And hopefully this is a regular thing. So
Only thing I got to say is I hope you guys enjoyed. It was fun being here. It was the time, escaped me really, really fast. I thought I was going to. I said it feels like it's only been 20 minutes, and you said it's been over an hour 5. So
an hour 15 now.
I really appreciate you letting me be here, taking the opportunity, and hopefully we can come out with some more content.
Oh, we will, bro. And I appreciate you hitting me up because, like I said, there's not anybody else that I'd rather do this with. So.
At low-key, I thought you were just like, oh, he's the first one to hit me up. I'll take him. So
Nah, dude, I do things the right way, and it's all about vibes here, and we definitely have that. So without further ado, my name is Marcus Marks.
John, Jonathan, or Tovar. You can call me John.
This is the PO3 Podcast, but we'll catch you guys on the next one.
You'll have a good one.